time frame. Paul wrote in 2 Timothy 4, verses 3 through 4, when men will not put up with sound doctrine, instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to saying what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside myths. The New Age movement is full of false Christs and false prophets that Jesus warned us about. There is little no doubt that the New Age teaching and the myths have made inroads into the churches, deceiving many Christians with their lies. One of the ways we're approaching the warning of Christians about the New Age movement in the church is a dilemma, and that's what we have to understand, that it's kind of a cross parallel to this, and what it is that, Paul warned of the people and even named people by names. However, there are some leaders that say, well, we shouldn't name people by names, and we shouldn't name those leaders by who they are. I don't believe that, because I believe that Paul said to mark you well who ministers among you, but he also spoke of be careful of the different people, and even Simon the sorcerer that came to Peter. He wanted to buy the gifts, he wanted this and that. Everybody warned, them of Simon the sorcerer, how he was not of God, and to be careful of this man. So I believe that sometimes if we try to brush it over, and we say, well, we can't name these leaders or name this, people, we've kind of have a tendency to brush underneath the carpet, and then as innocent sheep get hurt, right, that go to these meetings, and they're not told about this, mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't bring to light of, warning the people itself. And it'd be the same thing as you going along and, have a counterfeit dollar bill, and you're an innocent citizen, and you go to take that money, and the next thing you know, you're over there spending that. Well, you know what? The goods are going to be, it's going to be on you when the FBI or somebody comes knocking on your door for pressing counterfeit bills maybe. But at the same time, if someone comes up and tells you, Daniel, this is a counterfeit bill and such and such, and you're warned of it, right, then you'll know to take a look to say, okay, if that's the case, I definitely don't want to have a counterfeit bill here because I don't want to get in trouble over this situation. Right. I think that it's a warning to protect you, to tell you that, hey, that's a counterfeit bill here. Yeah. And I believe that's what needs to be brought out here. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people in the churches, and I've been saying this, is that Jesus is coming to divide the sheep and the goats. Yeah. And one of the reasons he's coming to divide the sheep and the goats is because most of the sheep don't have discernment to know who the goats are. Mm-hmm. And so we got to understand that this is a time that's coming into place. One of the things we need to talk about is that the fact that many sitting in our churches are candidates for the counterfeit going on today, mm-hmm. because the New Agers use Christian-sounding words such as spiritual such and such, or they might use the right slangs of Christ, atonement, mm-hmm. Holy Spirit, whatever it is. Yeah. But the immature believers of normal Christianity and Christianity itself, they think, well, just because those terms are used, all of a sudden it's got to be God. Yeah. And in fact, it's not. A lot of times, I'm not saying there's not good teachers, good churches, good believers. I believe there's a remnant of God in everybody's church. However, this Todd Bentley thing, I'd like to bring a little foundation to that real quick, if I may.
Well, I thought you just did, but I'm going to bring a little foundation to Mr. Todd Bentley. He probably drives a Bentley off the offerings, but somebody just sent me a clip from a newspaper about Todd Bentley and says that he manifests something, okay, and he's calling it an anointing. I might be calling it spirit of the crazy dog man, but his head starts shaking back and forth, and his body starts shaking as well, and then he starts waving his arms and yelling fire over the people, and when he yells fire over the people, they start convulsing. Now, I don't know if that's a spirit, but it sure sounds like some good entertainment.
Well, it is definitely counterfeit, and in those areas, and the foundations of this came out of not so much Vineyard in the beginning, but all the men that got associated in the Vineyard Christian Fellowship movements around the 80s.
Wait a minute now, didn't you say you come from the Vineyard?
I came out of the Vineyard. What happened is that thousands of guys that got in the Vineyard that were pastors that came out of different seminaries and churches, a lot of those men came out of Mideastern religion type seminaries, and they carried that into the Kansas City movement, and this is where it all began. Basically, the root. We got to get to the root of these things, but to the root of this was the Kansas City movement with Mike Bickle, Bob Jones, people that came into places like Todd Bentley, Larry Randolph, John Paul Jackson, and several men that came in play of this thing. That went into this Toronto thing, and that's where the root really hit, was the Toronto thing with dogs barking.
There's your dog, there's your dog barking, yeah.
Right, and so when that took place, that sprung forth into this so-called Rodney Howard Brown and this unholy laughter thing, and the counterfeits kept going from there. And Bentley was with these men in the beginning too, especially in that Toronto thing. And, and doing the things that you just brought out as far as what he was doing there. And he gets into, visualization, a lot of the New Age type of things that were not of God. And so, because the believer itself or the Christian that doesn't understand, or they should start discerning and check and test the spirits of everything that goes on, as it tells us in the Bible, to be careful and be warned of this, they jump right in with both hands. So as that went from the so-called Pensacola Brownsville thing, which those men got caught into some stuff, that other Toronto thing got caught in some unbiblical things, and John Wimber himself in the Vineyard, he went back and he denounced John Arnett out of Vineyard, Toronto, and took and cast them out of the whole Vineyard movement, and said it was unscriptural. The manifestations of animal groaning and grinding on the floors, doing the stuff that you're doing, is definitely demonic spirits. And they didn't want to listen to John anymore, as you would call like apostle. They had their own circus. So then that's when now we see, after this Brownsville thing, that that died out, and the other thing died out, and it was another thing, and then it got into the just before the Bentley thing again, got into this Bob Jones with, and Bob was a very good friend of mine, and so I say this, and it hurts me to be able to say these things, but is that Bob got into a situation that took place with an encounter with a Hindu monk who lived in the 1800s, who came back and visited him in his room and in his house, and then he was told to put the seal of God on people.
Can't keep them monks down.
Yeah, and so the whole thing is that that whole counterfeit led into another counterfeit of angel gold dust and the feathers and all this stuff that's going on in the nonsense.
I'm good with the gold dust.
Well, Daniel, people are looking for sensationalism and all this kind of, they have to have something like when Moses came off the mountain. They see Aaron and them over there fashioning the golden calf, and people had to have something tangible. Get your gold, get your silver, get all this stuff.
Yeah. Feathers?
It's nonsense. It's nonsense in the church. That's not biblical according to the
bubbles? Did any bubbles? Was there ever any bubbles flying around? I like that. Could you go there and request some, some sensation? Some manifestation? Could you say, let's have bubbles tonight? And then the next night, let's have feathers flying around or whatever. You think people were able to make requests?
Well, I don't know if they made the request directly, but I know that what they came with their open mind, open spirit, open everything, that opened up the door to every kind of demonic spirit possible. They, it just transferring the spirits upon people. But the main thing is that what's going on here and what's going on with Bentley. And for instance, let's say this, okay? They're saying there's these people getting gold teeth, okay?
Yeah.
Well, God didn't create you with gold. He created you with regular teeth. And so if God is going to replace a miracle, He's going to give you regular teeth again. He's not going to give you a replacement or a substitute. Like it's the same thing, you don't have an arm, say, all of a sudden He comes and gives you a miracle that your arm comes back, which Jesus can do, but He's not going to give you a prosthetic, arm or something, or something else, or a gold arm. He's going to give you a real arm back the way He created you. And so this gold teeth idea is nonsense according to the Scriptures. And what we have to understand.
Wait a minute now. I don't know about that one, because I never read where it says "Thou shalt not be manifesting gold teeth."
Well, you know what? Scripturally, the way He created us, he gave us.
You're making that's an assumption, though, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, scripturally, it talks about the forming of man and creation and how he was created and stuff, and it didn't say and he would give you gold teeth. He, obviously didn't say that. Okay, and I give you these types of teeth, but he also spoke of that in the creation, how he created the individual, the human being.